Although at first, this short 5-second animation may seem a little daunting, it's actually pretty simple. With some knowledge of Flash and a bit of time, this end result can be achieved with little complications. This animation was originally done by Riot Games as a promotion for its project skins. I wanted to highlight its minimalistic style as well as break it down to see how it worked. I came up with this. I used a screen capture from a YouTube video with the original animation and brought it into Flash. The screen capture originally had bad quality and was also cropped. Problems like these we'll discuss later. The original animation had transitioning shots between the different champions, but I wanted to primarily focus on the Katarina shot for this project. It both started and ended with the project symbol, so I thought that I would loop it in the end. In general, there are a few different elements to this animation. The primary character, in this case Katarina, large symbols, such as the wall and the project symbol in general, and additional effects, such as the lightning bolts and other wipe effects. The character is only comprised of 3 elements, both of her arms and her body. Her hair also makes a slight movement within the original animation, but because of time constraints and because it's only visible for about a second, I just left it attached to the body symbol. In the original video, the arms are seen to have a very smooth but slight movement to them. Definitely not something animated by hand, especially since they retain their shape consistently. Since we made this small puppet and all of the separate drawings are within their own symbols, creating a movement tween on the timeline is pretty easy. This technique could also have been done with those 2 walls breaking apart, but as I was going over the animation frame by frame, I saw that their movement wasn't 100% consistent. I just moved their symbols frame by frame and achieved a practically identical look. Now, let's talk about those lightning bolts going everywhere. Seems easy, right? Wrong. If I were to give an award to the most annoying and tedious part of this project, it would have probably been this effect. The problem is that this effect can't be cheated with symbols or simple motion tweens. It has to be drawn frame by frame, and it has to be done consistently. Usually, I lean more towards using the brush tool for achieving drawn animations in Flash, but since these lines had to be near perfect, I would have to use the pen tool. Remember before when I said that the quality of the original reference video was going to give us some trouble? Well, here's where that plays into the process of doing something like this. Since we are importing it directly into the timeline so that we can sync our frames up perfectly with the original movement, we will be drawing the new frame directly on top of the original, but on a layer above. When we zoom in, however, things become a little less crystal clear. Some of these little bolts were left up to interpretation and may have gotten lost in the transition between the original and our rendition. The consistency was kept in copying over each frame that was just drawn, and then altering it to keep that same feel of flow. Sometimes as many as 4 different bolts had to be altered on the same frame. That final transition between the character and the project symbol was where the last complication came to fruition. Since the original video was cropped and the rest was blurred after the crop line, it was impossible to tell where some of the details were in the last transition. So I had to guesstimate what and where those last details were. But with all of these different details combined, it makes for a pretty badass animation. Thanks so much for watching. This is the first of these style videos that I've done, and I wanted to do it just for fun. I'm still learning my way around the art form of animation, but these breakdowns really help. If you're interested in animation and you have access to a program such as Adobe Animate, try doing this with a similar example. Who knows? You might just have to use a tool or a method you never thought you could.